the fashion industry has often struggled to find its footing in the feminist conversation. The industry has played a central role in crafting unattainable beauty standards, upholding patriarchal structures, and influencing what is deemed appropriate for women to wear. Despite this, women have utilized clothing as a tool of protest and activism for centuries. From the trashing of bras at the 1969 Miss America pageant protests to the pink pussycat hats at the 2017 Women's March on Washington. How women should dress, what they choose to cover or expose, whether they wear makeup, braids, hijabs, or bikinis, has been endlessly put up for debate. The latest viral moment to add to the fashion versus feminism discourse is that of Bianca Censori at the 2025 Grammy Awards this past month. Walking down the red carpet with her husband, Bianca dons an oversized black fur coat. Once the couple paused for a few photos, Bianca turned away from the cameras and dropped the coat to reveal a mini sheath dress made of nude illusion mesh. When looking at Bianca from only a few yards away, you might think you were looking at a completely naked woman. Bianca wore no style of undergarment, and her body, including her genitalia, was on full display. Bianca's barely there garment was an extreme example of a style of dress we have come to call the naked dress, coined by Carrie Bradshaw during the 6th episode of Sex and the City. The naked dress is a gown, often made of sheer or nude fabric, that is intended to show off the entire body in silhouette and in textile choice. Depending on who you ask and on who is wearing it, the naked dress might be considered liberating, vulgar, or exploitative. Any revealing ensemble is commonly criticized by some as colluding with the patriarchy or as just plain distasteful. It is seen as women sexualizing and degrading themselves, where others look at naked clothing as a feminist statement, a statement of women owning their sexuality. The naked dress, in its conceptual form, has been around long before Carrie Bradshaw and Beyoncé, and the critique of this provocative style has been around just as long. The portrait, Marie Antoinette en chemise, by Elizabeth Louise Vigée Lebrun, caused an uproar of scandal when it was unveiled to the court in 1783. During the reign of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, the French court abided by strict rules of dress that designated the proper garments, silhouettes, fabrics, and accessories for every season, time of day, and occasion. For women, the garments were focused on manipulating the female figure until it looked like the preferred silhouette of the day, a very small waist with a large hoop skirt to dramatize a woman's hourglass figure. The average ensemble for a woman of the court included a chemise, corset, hoop skirts or panniers, multiple petticoats, and broad puff sleeves. The dresses were highly decorated with ruffles, bows, jewels, lace trims, and were made of the finest of fabrics. Marie Antoinette followed these guidelines for the majority of her reign, but on various occasions, she would shock the court by rejecting them completely. She refused to wear a posture-enhancing corset, she wore male breeches and riding coats, and her most famous scandal was that of the chemise dress. The portrait, Marie Antoinette en chemise, was unique for displaying the queen in a simple, lightweight dress rather than an extravagant court gown. The dress was made of a thin muslin, which resembled a chemise, a slip-like dress which was worn under the clothes or as a nightgown or to relax in a private boudoir. When this portrait was unveiled, the nobles of the royal court were outraged, feeling that the queen should not be seen in a gown only meant for private dressing. Despite the disapproval, Antoinette did not stop wearing the chemise style of gown, and the trend eventually caught on with women of various social classes emulating the queen. Around 1907, Spanish fashion designers Mariano Fortuny and Henriette Negrin crafted the Delphos gown. The Delphos gowns were long, column-like shift dresses made from a thin silk. The gowns hugged the body from the shoulders to ankle by pleating the silk into extremely fine pleats that ran down the dress. Their exact method for achieving these micropleats was a closely guarded secret involving heat, pressure, and ceramic rods, which has never been replicated. Glass beads were strategically placed along each side seam for decoration, but also to weigh the fabric down and ensure a smooth fit. The gowns were named after and inspired by a classical Greek statue, the Chariot of Delphi. The Delphos were a deliberate reference to the chiton of ancient Greece and meant to be worn without undergarments, a radical suggestion during the early years of the 20th century. The Delphos gowns were originally worn only as nightgowns or for private dressing. They would have been thought too scandalous to wear out in public. However, similarly to Marie Antoinette's, Fortuni's gowns caught on, and the body-hugging style became the dominating silhouette for stars of the silver screen to wear only 20 years later in the 1930s, with actress Lauren Bacall wearing a vintage red Delphos gown to the 1978 Oscars. Arguably the first truly naked dress was worn by Marilyn Monroe in 1962 for her infamous performance of Happy Birthday to President Kennedy at his 45th birthday celebration and fundraiser. The dress, designed by Bob Mackie and crafted by Jean-Louis, was made of a sheer and flesh-colored marquisette fabric, with 2,500 shimmering rhinestones sewn into it. The dress was so tight-fitting that Marilyn had difficulty putting it on. She ended up getting sewn into the dress and wearing nothing underneath. The dress was so well fitted that Marilyn called it skin and beads. The gown stirred up quite a controversy, with many people citing the sexy dress and Marilyn's sultry performance as further proof of her alleged affair with JFK. When she came out to sing, she removed a white fur shawl to reveal the whole dress, and the audience gasped. The significance of Marilyn's dress was brought back into the spotlight when Kim Kardashian donned the gown to the 2022 Met Gala, themed in celebration of American designers. Kim re-wearing Marilyn's dress was criticized by fans and fashion historians. Concerns over the ethics of wearing Marilyn's clothing circulated online after the phrase "let her rest" became synonymous with the old Hollywood actress, who was sexually exploited during her lifetime and after her death. Fashion historians and conservation specialists slammed the dress's owner, Ripley's, for letting the extremely fragile garment be worn and damaged. Many also found the stunt tacky, believing that Kim would never live up to the star power of Marilyn. The dress's designer, Bob Mackie, weighed in, saying, "I thought it was a big mistake. Marilyn was a goddess. She was just fabulous. Nobody photographs like that. And it was done for her. It was designed for her. Nobody else should be seen in that dress." I can't help but agree with Mackie. For me, I was disappointed by Kim's choice to wear the exact dress. Not only because I believe in the conservation of fashion, but also because it just looked so bad. The magic of Marilyn's dress was in the fact that it was made for Marilyn. It was to her exact measurements. The fabric was dyed perfectly to match her skin tone, and the beading was used so that when cameras of the day flashed, it would look as if Marilyn herself was sparkling. On Kim, it fell totally flat. Her skin is far tanner than Marilyn's, her figure is more dramatic and angular, and the dress didn't even fit. It was overall a real disappointment. All the magic of the original moment lost. Personally, I would have loved to see Kim reference Marilyn's look by having her own version of the Happy Birthday dress crafted using the same techniques and fabric of the original gown, but making it to her measurements. Besides Monroe and a few others, the truly naked dress trend didn't really take off until the 1990s, when many celebrities and fashion icons stepped out in the look, including supermodel Kate Moss, actress Sarah Jessica Parker in Sex and the City, and Rose McGowan at the MTV Music Awards. What seemed like an attention-seeking fad of the time developed into styles that are still extremely prevalent today. The mesh gowns with tactfully placed beading and embroidery have become commonplace on red carpets and runways alike over the past 2 decades, with stars Beyoncé, Kim Kardashian, and Jennifer Lopez having the style become their signature look. The naked dress has trickled down into ready-to-wear and fast fashions, with brands like Zara, Revolve, and Opoly selling the style to a wider audience. The naked dress can even be found in the often more conservative bridal industry, with designers Galia Le Havre, Berta, and Panita Tournay having the look be part of their collections season after season. A clear pattern we can draw from the naked dress's history is that what is originally considered vulgar eventually becomes widely accepted. Even in just the past few years, the oversaturation of sheer gowns on the red carpets has made the naked dress commonplace. Rihanna caused days' worth of online buzz when she stepped out in a sheer Swarovski crystal dress for the CFDA Awards back in 2014, but only a decade later, Emily Ratajkowski wears a similar dress to the 2024 Met Gala, and it's not even worth mentioning. The naked dress has become nothing more than a dress. The difference, in my eyes, between many of the naked dresses we have discussed so far and the garment Bianca Censori wore to the Grammys is in the design of the dress, Bianca's purpose for wearing it, and the optics surrounding the look. first, let's talk design. The actual dress is made of illusion mesh, an extremely thin but strong fabric that is colored to blend in with the skin. As textiles go, it is about as utilitarian as it gets. The aesthetic appeal of the fabric is non-existent. When we compare it to Rihanna's gown, both are naked dresses, but Rihanna's was a celebration of fabric. The simplistic sheath by Adam Selman allowed the fabric embellished with 216,000 Swarovski crystals to be the center of our attention. What was the purpose of Marilyn Monroe's happy birthday dress? Obviously, Marilyn was the sex symbol of her time, so many of her most famous looks evoke sensuality. Marilyn was most famous for her curvy figure, so for her to don a dress that looks like her naked silhouette feels very self-aware. She knows that her body is what a lot of people come to see. Marilyn was also a diamond of the industry, so the designer wanted to mirror her superstar status by having her second skin sparkle. And if we were to listen to the rumors, her purpose might have been to please JFK during their affair. What was Bianca's purpose for wearing her naked dress? Shock. It was all about shock. I have always been an advocate for people using fashion to make a social statement. I also support pushing the boundaries of what is considered appropriate or traditionally socially acceptable for women to wear. But I think this stunt goes far beyond defying conventions. Vogue fashion writer Raven Smith summed up my thoughts on the look perfectly. At its best, fashion, for me, has always celebrated a body's sensuality, rather than the unimaginative, base-level provocation of a woman's nakedness. But I have this sinking feeling that Bianca's dress wasn't meant to continue a fashion dialogue with other women. It was meant purely to provoke. This naked dress wasn't well crafted or artfully designed. It wasn't referential or a celebration of the female form. It was just supposed to spark controversy. Then there's the optics of having a mega famous billionaire husband stand fully clothed next to his wife as she strips down to functionally nothing. Bianca enters the red carpet in a long black fur coat with a pair of transparent heels and her jet black hair pulled up into a slicked back bun. I can't help but think of this look in the context of the TikTok famous mob wife trend from last winter that kicked off the resurgence of the fur coat. Standing next to her husband in matching colors, we read them clearly as a pair. They go together, and so do their outfits. Based on the styling of this look, and given the fact that we have seen but not heard a lot from Bianca during their marriage, I don't think the public's concern for her consent in wearing the dress is unwarranted. Rumors have been circulating only a week after the Grammys that the couple is headed for divorce. Even if Bianca was trying to make a statement, say something about women's autonomy over their bodies, I would have to ask, is this statement worth making? Yes, women can wear anything they want, but there is also a sense of decency that is empathetic to keep in mind. Other people didn't consent to seeing Bianca's naked form. Clearly, it is hard to draw a line in this conversation, especially when the line of what is deemed acceptable to wear is always moving. That said, I think for women's fashion to be great, it has to be women first. It has to keep the wearer front of mind. A fun trend I have seen circulating during Couture Week was a comparison of collections created by women and collections created by men for women. And it is clear that some of our current male designers aren't putting what women would actually want to wear at the forefront. For fashion to exist on the right side of the feminist conversation, fashion needs to be working for women, not the other way around.